Ever since I installed a giant spoiler on my Honda Civic in high school, I've developed a bit of a reputation for turning the basic into the sublime. The same stands true on guitar, so we're going to take the most basic chord progression ever, C to F to A minor to G, but make it sound really cool with some fun double stops. It's going to sound like this. Basically just some kind of really fun stuff that we can do using the A minor pentatonic scale, which is definitely the Honda Civic spoiler of all guitar positions right here, okay? We're going to talk about some alternate chord voicings and just kind of some things that you can do in between playing super common basic chords that you'll pop up in any song, whether you're using a capo or whatever. Rocking out the D'Angelico semi-hollow through the Supro amp. And basically we're starting with a 4 to 1 to 6 to 5 progression in the key of C, okay? So we have F major to C major, A minor to G major, all right? The one thing that we can do to make it easier is instead of playing like a bar chord, F major, we can play it like this, okay? I think this is a really great way to kind of transition between F and regular C, where you just have, 1, 2, 3, and 3 from the B string to the A string, just like that. I really feel that's like a great shape for moving into this kind of position because you already have these fingers bunched together to start playing through that next position we're going to talk about, okay? So the other thing we're going to do is instead of playing an open C chord like this, we're going to play this one right here, okay? So again, if we take that minor pentatonic scale on A, 5, 8, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 8, this is really going to be a practical way to kind of use that in a more musical context, all right? So just first of all, the first thing about that is the first note on each string is the 5th fret. So basically the 5th fret is fair game for anything that we're doing here, all right? I'm playing this finger style, you can play with pick, doesn't really matter. But we're going to start F to this C major chord, okay? So right there, just going from here to here lines us up in this kind of double stop territory, which I think is really easy to do, okay? So again, now I'm just holding down the 5th fret of the D, G, and B strings, okay? So you'll notice that the lowest note I'm playing in this voicing is going to be the 5th fret on the D string, which happens to be a G note. So this is an inversion of the C major chord because the lowest note in the chord is not a C. The C is in fact right here, the 5th fret on the G string, okay? So the F chord to C, and then we're doing this one move, okay? In fact, I think it might be good practice just to take this move and try to insert them between every coupling of chords, all right? So what I'm doing is I'm taking some of these notes that I learned from this hand position, right? And I'm gonna play 2 at a time. That's what a double stop is. So if I hit the 7th fret on the A string and the 7th fret on the D string, that's gonna be my first double stop move. Then I'm gonna change that to the 5th fret on the D and the G string, which is found in that C major chord. The beautiful thing about using these notes in this key is it doesn't really matter which chord they're going over, it's all gonna sound good. That's the beauty of the pentatonic scale. It's like adding a giant homemade spoiler to your Honda Civic in the year 2003. You just can't go wrong, right? When in doubt, add a giant wooden homemade subwoofer. That was so stupid. Everyone was showing off their giant homemade wooden subwoofers back in the day. Whatever. Sounded great. Just like pentatonic scale double stops. Those big old subwoofers. Let people know you're coming, right? So, we've got 7A and 7D, 5D and 5G, 7D and 7G, into 5G and 5B. Okay, so really we kind of make our way through this C major chord, but in a very fluid way. And in fact, 1, 2, 3, 4, if I have 4 kind of actions that I'm taking, that second one sounds really good as a hammer-on. Okay, so I'm picking them and coming down with, again, my paired ring finger and pinky. So we have F to C. Now we're going to go A minor to G, all right? we're already in this position, so let's actually take this as an opportunity to play an A minor 7 chord instead of an open A minor chord or a barred one, just because we're already in this position, so it's really efficient, right? Just like the gas mileage on that Honda Civic. RIP. Middle finger is it's basically a C major chord, but you're grabbing the low A. The A is going to be our bass note. You could also do this open A, technically the same chord, but I think when you're fretting it, you have a little bit more control, which is why it's something I always like to do, right? So from that C and that double stop, I'm going to grab the root of that A minor chord and then the C major chord on top of it. That's all an A minor 7 chord is. It's an A plus a C major. If you look at the notes in C major, a C major chord is a C, E, G. A minor 7 is A, C, E, G. So it's kind of good to really understand the relationship between extended chords and how they're really just kind of like an A minor chord plus a C major chord makes an A minor 7 chord. It sounds great when you have the root and the bass on a guitar, okay? And from here, I'm going to think of maybe pivoting on my ring finger. See how my ring finger is grabbing the 5th fret of the D string? I'm going to make the next chord kind of rooted there, G major. All right? 5, 4, 3, D, G, B. So just the chords, F major to C, A minor 7, G. Okay? And having that space allows us to kind of grab that spoiler action, maybe even a little nitrous oxide on top by grabbing the higher notes in that position. That's up to you. I'm not here to judge. I'm just kind of showing you what I've learned in my fast and furious days. So, F to C, double stop, A minor, G. Maybe I'll just do a different one. I could do the same thing. A minor to G, F, C, A minor, G. Now it's kind of like a little bit of a melody thing that we're kind of hammering. Personally, I think it kind of gets repetitive if you do it that way, so try to get creative and still think of these as your actions that you can go to, but try to switch them up a little bit. F to C, C or A minor to G. Right there, that was going from an open C, and then really the advantage that we have there is because it's easier here, we can take this and slide into that position instead of arriving from the position. So really, I don't mean to do this in different ways to make it confusing. I think it's just more contextual. You know what I mean? Sometimes you'll find yourself, I know I do, like I never play a song the same way twice. It's always kind of just like exploring, you know, just to kind of keep myself interested. Oh, maybe I'll go up here and kind of play this, just because, you know, I've learned all these chord voicings. You might as well use it, you know? I bought bulk Honda Civic capable spoilers. I might as well put it on my car and all my friends' cars. Heck, if it's a Bonneville, put a Honda Civic spoiler on there. Why not? Anything went back in the day. People would probably make fun of you on Instagram nowadays, but that's not how it was back in my day, kids. F to C, A minor, G. You can get higher into the double stops. I always think that it sounds good maybe, again, we're thinking of this in pairs, the first pair of chords being the F to the C, and then maybe hitting the lower double stops first, and then for the next pair of chords, A minor to G, maybe go a little bit higher into the shape to kind of get like a higher double stop sound. And then to me, that's kind of like a more cohesive way to kind of like arrange a song or something like that. Hit him with the low stuff first, then hit him with the high stuff for the knockout punch. So there's kind of like a call and response type thing when you think of it that way. So I just think that's kind of like an interesting way to approach just taking a very, very basic chord progression. All this stuff is super movable, especially when you start seeing the relationship between the spacing between these chords, right? One thing that I know really helped me was just thinking of a 4 to a 1 chord like this, all right? I'm a big fan of going 4-1 and not 5-1, like all you basic jazz noobs out there. What that means, instead of going from like a G to a C, I kind of like the sound of the 4 chord going home to the 1 chord. So what I mean by like the spacing there is, if I have a bass note here like F, I know that my home chord is going to be maybe an arpeggio and a skip and a jump away from that minor pentatonic spoiler landing zone right there, okay? So that's assuming that I'm in the key of C. All right, so let's say if I'm in, you know, a different key. Let's just take whatever. Let's say A is my 4 chord, and then I'm going here, right? Because if A is 4, major 7, I'm gonna go to an E, right? E, F, G, A, essentially. E, F sharp, G sharp, A, whatever, however you want to look at it. There's my starting chord, the 4 to the 1. So all this stuff is movable. I just really kind of like, I'm thinking of the 4 chord being here, and then jumping into that position. So that's why it's really kind of, you know, important to just understand how all these shapes connect, because there's always something fun and exciting that you can do. And that's all I've got for you today. So if you have any questions, hit me up in the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, the website, sign up for the Patreon if you just want to learn basically everything ever. What a deal. And I'll talk to you next time. Thanks a lot.